Welcome to Ping 24 Updates, your daily dose of what is happening around the world. Subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for more updates. On the morning of September 22, 2025, the Philippines awoke to alarming news that would send shockwaves across the nation. Reports confirmed that 3 heavily armed Chinese warships had entered the West Philippine Sea, moving with purpose and intent. News headlines blared from every corner, and the nation felt a surge of anger and anxiety. This was no routine patrol. This was a direct challenge, a brazen incursion into Philippine waters that could not be ignored. For coastal communities, especially the fishermen who depend on these waters for their daily catch, the threat was deeply personal. Their livelihoods, already fragile, were now overshadowed by the presence of foreign military might, casting a long shadow over their future. In Manila, government officials scrambled to respond. They worked through the night, confirming the incursion with satellite images and patrol reports, urgently coordinating with military and diplomatic channels. The warships, a destroyer, a frigate, and an amphibious transport, had penetrated deep into the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, violating international law and sending a clear message of defiance. This was a clear escalation, a test of the Philippines' resolve, and a signal to the world that the balance of power in the region was being challenged. The imbalance of power was stark, a proud nation facing the overwhelming might of a superpower's navy. The tension was palpable, with every move watched by anxious eyes both at home and abroad. Yet, as the day unfolded, the initial shock began to give way to a growing sense of determination. Across the country, Filipinos rallied together, united by a shared sense of purpose and national pride. The government vowed swift and decisive action, fully aware that the world was watching every development. International diplomats and allies closely monitored the situation, understanding the stakes involved. This was a moment of truth, a test of courage, diplomacy, and national unity. The choices made in these critical hours would shape the nation's future and its standing on the global stage. The Philippines would not be intimidated. Its people, its leaders, and its defenders stood resolute, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The stage was set for a confrontation with global implications, as the world watched to see how a nation on edge would respond to one of its greatest tests. The arrival of Chinese warships in the South China Sea marked the latest and most dramatic escalation in a year-long series of provocations. Each new deployment signaled a growing willingness by China to assert its claims with increasing force, raising alarm across the region and beyond. This pattern began quietly, with a suspected Chinese spy ship disguised as a research vessel. It methodically mapped Philippine waters, lingering near sensitive naval bases and gathering intelligence under the pretense of scientific research. The Philippine Navy responded by shadowing the vessel, closely monitoring its movements. Manila quickly lodged a formal diplomatic protest, but these actions did little to deter further Chinese incursions. Instead, tensions continued to mount, with each side watching the other warily. Months later, the situation escalated dramatically. A Philippine supply boat on a routine mission to Ayungin Shoal was deliberately rammed by a Chinese Coast Guard ship. This was no accident. It was a clear act of intimidation, meant to send a message. Not long after, Chinese vessels unleashed powerful water cannons on Filipino boats, endangering the lives of their crews. The incident sparked outrage, not just in the Philippines, but also among the international community, drawing condemnation from allies and regional partners. Each confrontation grew more aggressive than the last, with China continually pushing boundaries and testing the Philippines' resolve. The pattern was unmistakable, a calculated campaign to wear down resistance and assert dominance. The most alarming shift came when China moved from using Coast Guard vessels to deploying full-fledged warships. This marked a dangerous new phase, signaling a willingness to use military force rather than just law enforcement measures. Warships are not tools for policing. They are instruments of war, designed for combat and deterrence. Their presence in these contested waters is a stark warning of how far China is prepared to go. Through these actions, China's message could not be clearer. It is ready to back its sweeping territorial claims with overwhelming military power, regardless of the risks. This relentless campaign of pressure and escalation has brought the entire region to a dangerous tipping point, where any miscalculation could spark a wider conflict. The Philippines now faces a deliberate, escalating challenge to its sovereignty and security, with its leaders and people under mounting pressure to respond. The stakes have never been higher. The future of the South China Sea and the peace and stability of the entire region hangs in the balance. China's approach in the South China Sea is a textbook example of gray zone tactics, asserting control without open war. Its massive coast guard, acting more like a navy, intimidates and harasses foreign vessels. Swarms of maritime militia, civilian boats under military control, occupy disputed areas, making direct confrontation risky. This cabbage strategy surrounds targets with layers of ships, squeezing out rivals. The recent deployment of warships is the iron fist behind the velvet glove, signaling readiness for lethal force if intimidation fails. Each move is calculated to avoid outright conflict while steadily changing the status quo. China's long game: win without fighting by making resistance seem too costly. The Philippines must navigate this relentless pressure with resolve and strategy. Manila has refused to back down. The government summoned the Chinese ambassador, issuing a public protest and rallying international support. On the water, the Navy and Coast Guard increased patrols, documenting every incident and exposing China's actions to the world. Assertive transparency has become a key weapon, shining a light on gray zone tactics. Citizens rallied in protest, uniting behind the call, "Atin ito, this is ours." The Philippines has also strengthened alliances, conducting joint drills with the U.S. building partnerships with Japan, Australia, and Europe. This coalition sends a clear message: the Philippines is not alone. National unity and international solidarity are now central to the country's defense. The world is watching and standing with the Philippines. The South China Sea is a global crossroads, vital for trade, energy, and food security. Trillions in goods pass through these waters annually, linking Asia to the world. Any conflict here could cripple the global economy, making freedom of navigation a universal concern. The sea is also rich in oil, gas, and fish, resources essential to regional economies and livelihoods. China's militarized artificial islands threaten to control these lifelines, raising alarms far beyond Southeast Asia. The struggle is not just about territory, but about who sets the rules for the world's most important waterways. The outcome will shape the security and prosperity of the entire Indo-Pacific. The stakes are nothing less than global. Is China preparing for war, or just flexing its muscles? Some argue this is saber-rattling, pressure tactics to force the Philippines into submission without actual conflict. War would be costly for China, risking trade and global standing, and could trigger U.S. intervention. Others warn that China's military buildup and island fortresses suggest real preparations for conflict if coercion fails. Each escalation tests the resolve of the Philippines and its allies. The truth is ambiguous. China wants to win without fighting, but is ready if it must. This uncertainty makes the situation volatile and dangerous. The West Philippine Sea is a powder keg. One miscalculation could ignite disaster. With rival ships in close quarters, accidents or misunderstandings could spiral into conflict. Clear communication and crisis hotlines are vital to prevent escalation. Frontline crews operate under immense pressure. A single mistake could have catastrophic consequences. Strict rules of engagement are essential to avoid unintended clashes. For the Philippines, war would be devastating. For China, it could derail its ambitions. The world's economy and security hang in the balance. Calm, responsible actions are needed from all sides. The cost of a misstep is simply too high. The Philippines is not alone. It stands with powerful allies. The U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty is a cornerstone, with America pledging to defend its partner against attack. Joint military exercises and U.S. support have strengthened the Philippines' defenses. Partnerships with Japan, Australia, and others add to this security network. European navies have joined freedom of navigation patrols, reinforcing international law. This coalition shows the world that the South China Sea is a global concern. Collective security is the Philippines' greatest asset. Unity is its shield against aggression. Peace in the West Philippine Sea is not simply given. It is earned through constant vigilance, strong alliances, and an unwavering commitment to international law. The region's stability depends on the readiness and determination of those who protect its waters. The Philippines must tirelessly monitor its vast maritime territory, exposing any acts of aggression or encroachment. By remaining alert and transparent, the nation keeps global attention focused on the ongoing challenges and ensures that the world cannot look away. Strong partnerships with the United States, Japan, Australia, and other regional allies provide vital deterrence against potential threats. These alliances are built on trust, shared values, and a mutual desire for peace and security in the region. Joint patrols and multinational exercises send a powerful message of unity and resolve. They demonstrate that the international community stands together, ready to defend the principles of freedom of navigation and respect for sovereign rights. The 2016 Hague ruling invalidated China's sweeping claims in the South China Sea, reaffirming that international law, especially the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, is the true foundation for lasting peace and order in these contested waters. The Philippines and its allies must continue to insist on respect for this landmark ruling and uphold a rules-based international order. Only by standing firm can they ensure that justice prevails over might. The ultimate goal is clear: to resolve disputes through dialogue, negotiation, and the rule of law, not through intimidation or force. The situation remains tense, but the Philippines has shown remarkable courage, unity, and resilience in the face of adversity, inspiring hope among its people and allies. The path forward requires a careful balance of strength and diplomacy, combining firm defense with open channels for peaceful resolution. The hope is to keep the South China Sea a zone of peace, stability, and freedom for all nations and future generations, a shared legacy of cooperation and respect.